The joke was meant to humiliate him in the brightest part of the day, under clean office lights and open windows, where laughter would sting more sharply and embarrassment would have nowhere to hide. They chose noon on purpose, when the cafe across the street filled with sunlight and people, when everything felt exposed. What none of them expected was that a small child, sitting quietly with crayons and half-finished pancakes, would notice the one thing everyone else missed, and in doing so would change the course of several lives forever. Before this story unfolds any further, take a moment to pause. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of seeing people for who they truly are, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a thoughtful comment, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Spark. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Mateo Alvarez had learned long ago how to become invisible. At 42, he moved through the downtown corporate building like a shadow that cleaned up after other people's importance. He arrived early every morning while the city was still stretching awake, sunlight just beginning to bounce off glass towers, and he worked methodically, polishing floors until they reflected the sky, emptying bins filled with discarded drafts of big ideas, wiping fingerprints from doors he would never be invited to walk through with confidence. His uniform was always clean, his posture careful, his expression calm in a way that came from years of being overlooked. People knew him only as the janitor, and even that was said rarely, usually with a nod that didn't quite meet his eyes. The building housed a marketing firm known for its young energy and fast success. Laughter echoed through the halls during the day, brainstorming sessions spilled into the open spaces, and confidence seemed to live in every corner. Mateo existed alongside it all, but never within it. He noticed everything. He noticed when someone was stressed, when a project failed, when a coffee spill threatened to ruin an expensive laptop. He helped quietly, leaving no trace of himself behind. Kindness to him was not something to announce. It was something you did because the world felt heavy enough already. Among the employees was a small group who found amusement in their own cleverness. They thrived on inside jokes, on pranks that pushed just far enough to feel daring, but not enough to get them into trouble. When a blind date conversation came up during a lunch break, something twisted into something cruel. Someone joked about setting Mateo up, presenting it as an act of charity, and laughter followed too quickly. The idea grew legs. They would arrange a blind date as a joke, watch it unfold from a distance, and later laugh about the janitor who thought, even for a moment, that he belonged in their world. They chose Claire Rowan as the unsuspecting participant. Claire was kind but busy, a single mother who worked part-time at a nearby bookstore and spent most of her days caring for her daughter Juniper. She had agreed to a blind date because a co-worker insisted it might be good for her, that it was time she did something for herself. She arrived at the cafe at noon, sunlight streaming through the windows, Juniper at her side because babysitting had fallen through. Claire didn't mind. Juniper was used to tagging along, content with crayons and coloring sheets, her world still soft and observant. Mateo arrived 10 minutes early, as he always did for everything. He wore his only good shirt, ironed carefully, sleeves buttoned even though the day was warm. He had hesitated before coming, aware of how he might look sitting in a cafe meant for meetings and dates. But he had been told this was genuine, that someone wanted to meet him. Hope, even when fragile, can be persuasive. He sat down by the window, sunlight catching the fine lines around his eyes, his hands folded neatly on the table. When Claire realized who her blind date was, confusion washed over her face, followed by something like surprise rather than disappointment. She noticed Mateo's nervous composure, the way he stood when she approached, respectful and unsure. The moment stretched, heavy with unspoken expectations created by other people's jokes. Somewhere across the street, hidden behind the illusion of busyness, the pranksters watched, waiting for the discomfort to bloom. Juniper noticed something else entirely. From her seat, swinging her legs beneath the table, she saw a man whose eyes softened when they met hers. She saw the way he smiled at her drawing, how he leaned forward just slightly to see better, as if her world mattered. Children are unburdened by assumptions. They read sincerity before status. Juniper felt safe without knowing why, and that feeling made her curious. The date unfolded quietly, not with sparks of witty banter, but with something steadier. Mateo spoke about his work in simple terms, not apologetic, not defensive. He spoke about mornings when the city felt peaceful, about taking pride in leaving places better than he found them. Claire listened, surprised by the calm confidence beneath his modesty. She talked about the bookstore, about raising Juniper, about the exhaustion and quiet joys of building a life on resilience. Time passed without either of them noticing. The cafe hummed around them, daylight shifting subtly as clouds moved overhead. Across the street, laughter died down. The joke wasn't landing the way it was supposed to. There was no obvious humiliation, no dramatic discomfort. Instead, there was something else, something that made the watchers uneasy. Mateo wasn't floundering. Claire wasn't recoiling. And Juniper was smiling, fully engaged, showing Mateo her drawings, receiving his attention as if it were a gift.